Welcome back to today's deep dive. I'm your host.
And I'm your expert analyst.
We're here to cut through the noise, get straight to the insights. Today is Wednesday, July 30th, 2025. This is our 21st deep dive. Thanks so much for all your support. You're just amazing.
Really appreciate everyone tuning in.
So let's get to it. Hope you're already following us on our YouTube channel, Next Site Intelligence, and also on Spotify. Just look up Deep Dive Intelligence Podcast. Make sure to follow us. So our focus today is the Daily Intelligence Brief for Tuesday, July 29th, 2025. This report comes from NextSite.
Right. NextSite is an amazing, dedicated global intelligence company. They provide these really detailed reports to customers, and they even customize them, based on specific interests.
And they've also developed their own open source intelligence platform. It's called Site Connect, which helps investigators all over the world. You can check them out at www.next-site.com.
Definitely worth a look. But before we dive into the specifics of the brief, it's really crucial to understand how NextSite assesses the information. They use two key systems, source reliability and information confidence, plus threat levels.
Okay, right. The reliability and confidence flags.
Exactly. For source reliability, they use the Admiralty scale, A through F. A means completely reliable.
Got it. A is best.
Yep. Then B is usually reliable, C fairly reliable, D not usually reliable, E unreliable, and F means cannot be judged.
Okay. A to F. Makes sense.
Then for information confidence, it's a number scale, 1 to 6. 1 means it's confirmed by independent sources, rock solid.
1 is confirmed.
Right. 2 is probably true, 3 possibly true, 4 doubtfully true, 5 fit improbable. And 6 fit, like F, means cannot be judged.
1 to 6. Confidence level.
Exactly. And finally, there's the threat level. They use the UK system. Low, moderate, substantial, severe, critical, sometimes with a plus or minus modifier to give a bit more nuance.
Okay, good to know. We'll keep an ear out for those ratings as we go.
We'll flag them for each key piece of news. It helps gauge the credibility and potential impact quickly.
Perfect. So let's unpack this daily intelligence brief and see what's shaping our world right now. The bottom line up front, or BLUF, for July 29th. Well, it paints a pretty stark picture. We're seeing intensifying trade and tariff conflicts, expanding humanitarian crises, and climate-driven disasters.
Yeah, and what really jumps out is how these things aren't happening in isolation. They're interconnected.
Absolutely. The report stresses these significant ripple effects on markets, on social stability. It's all linked.
That interconnectedness is key. A trade dispute here can worsen economic stress, which might fuel instability elsewhere. It's a complex web.
So the executive summary highlights 3 big threads. First, trade war escalation. The U.S. has broadened tariffs against Mexico, the EU, and China.
And this isn't just talk, it's having immediate effects.
Right. The report mentions price hikes for consumer goods already starting, and it's threatening global supply chains. Specifically, Procter Gamble announced, mid-single-digit price increases on about a quarter of their U.S. products.
Yeah, and they explicitly linked it to offsetting about $1 billion in tariff costs. $1 billion.
$1 billion, wow. And meanwhile, the EU and Mexico are warning about retaliatory actions, so this could really spiral.
It certainly could. NextSite flags this as a moderate plus threat, high risk. That P&G example, it's like a canary in the coal mine, isn't it? Shows exactly how these high-level trade disputes hit your actual grocery bill.
Definitely. It makes you wonder how widespread this will become for everyday households.
Exactly.
Okay, the second major trend is widening humanitarian crises. And this section is, well, it's tragic. Russia's overnight strikes killed 25 in Ukraine. Gaza's death toll reported over 60,000, with widespread starvation.
Just devastating numbers.
And then Beijing floods, leaving 30 dead and 80,000 evacuated. It's just crisis after crisis simultaneously.
And the scale is immense. NextSite puts this as a substantial threat, high risk. It really pushes global aid systems, national governments, to their absolute limits.
How much can they handle at once, right? War, climate disasters?
That's the question. And the risk of mass displacement, political instability, it just grows with each crisis. It's a huge challenge.
And the third point, climate-induced disruption. We saw that massive magnitude 8.8 earthquake off Russia's far east,
triggering tsunami warnings across the Pacific, waves reaching Alaska, Hawaii, New Zealand.
Yeah, a huge geographic impact. Plus, the report mentions the extreme rainfall in China again here. Clear signs of environmental shifts causing direct, immediate problems.
And these aren't just isolated incidents, are they? It's becoming a pattern. NextSite rates this moderate threat, moderate risk, but the pattern suggests increasing frequency and severity.
It forces us to think about resilience, adaptation. long-term stuff.
Absolutely. How prepared are our societies or infrastructure for this?
Okay, let's zoom in a bit. The report has 3 spotlight themes that go deeper. First up, tariff avalanche, global inflation engine.
Right. This really drills down into how these widening U.S. tariff policies are basically pouring fuel on the fire of global inflation.
So, more detail.
Yeah, new 25–30% duties on steel, aluminum, cars, other imports. Mexico's facing up to 30% if talks fail. Europe kind of reluctantly agreed to 15% on its exports to the U.S. just to avoid even worse tariffs.
A sort of lesser of two evils situation for them.
Seems like it. And the chain reaction's pretty clear, right? Tariffs raise costs for producers. They pass those costs to us, the consumers. Inflation goes up. Economic growth potentially slows down.
And investors are nervous.
You bet. They're watching corporate earnings, consumer spending. It's a major economic concern right now.
Okay, second spotlight theme. Humanitarian crises and political legitimacy. This connects the dots between the crises we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, it's not just about the immediate suffering, awful as that is. It's about how these emergencies strain governments, strain aid groups, potentially undermining public trust, legitimacy.
So, linking the Ukraine deaths, Gaza's situation, the Beijing floods, even those Angola fuel protests.
Exactly. You've got war, starvation, climate disaster, economic unrest, all hitting at once or in quick succession. It really challenges the capacity and maybe even the perceived right of governments to govern effectively and protect people.
And that can lead to more instability down the line.
Precisely.
All right, the third theme is demographic and governance strain. This one feels a bit more subtle, but long-term important.
Definitely long-term. It looks at these slower-burning structural issues like Latin America's population is aging rapidly. The report cites Uruguay fertility rate down to 1.27. They project that 32% of their population will be over 65 by 2070.
Wow, that's a huge shift. Big implications for healthcare, pensions.
It's massive. Then you've got governance issues. New Zealand's new law restricting voter registration, especially on election day, and prisoner voting. Critics are calling it a dark day for democracy.
Controversial.
Very. And in Africa, the Ivory Coast's 83-year-old president announcing he's running for a 4th term. These aren't just local news snippets.
They connect to bigger questions.
Right. Questions about representation, who gets a voice, how social welfare systems stay funded with aiding populations, the health of democratic institutions. It all affects future economic growth and social cohesion. It challenges our assumptions.
Okay, let's shift gears now and look at some specific regional developments from the July 29th brief. We'll keep those reliability and confidence flags in mind.
Sounds good.
Starting with North America, the BLUF mentioned tariff impacts and a major shooting. Threat level, moderate plus lay, high risk.
Yeah, and one really shocking item was the Manhattan mass shooting targeting NFL headquarters. Just awful.
Tell us more.
A gunman killed 4 people. A police officer, a Blackstone executive among them, inside the NFL building, then apparently took his own life. Left a note blaming football concussions. Deadliest mass shooting in NYC in 25 years.
Just terrible. And the reliability on that?
That's rated A2. Completely reliable source, information probably true, high degree of certainty there. Threat level is moderate plus for security, obviously.
And sticking with North America, the economic side, Procter Gamble raising prices. We touched on this.
Right. P&G announcing those mid-single-digit price hikes on about a quarter of their U.S. products starting August, explicitly citing that $1 billion in tariff costs.
And that's also A2.
Yes, A2. Completely reliable, probably true. Moderate threat level for the economy.
It really makes you ask.
Will others follow?
Exactly. Is this the start of a bigger wave of consumer price increases driven by these tariffs? Could really accelerate inflation for everyday people.
Okay, let's move across the Atlantic to Europe. Big themes there are that controversial U.S. trade deal and the ongoing conflict. Threat level, moderate, high risk. Yeah, the EU's trade deal is facing political backlash. A Northeastern University analysis flagged that it imposes a 15% tariff on most European exports. That's triple the existing duties.
Triple, wow.
Yeah. And it obliges Europe to buy $250 billion worth of U.S. energy every year. French officials reportedly called it a dark day for Europe. Strong words.
What's the rating on that analysis?
That one's B2. So, usually reliable source information. Probably true. The core facts are likely solid, but maybe some interpretation or nuance could vary. Threat level is moderate, covering both economic and political angles.
So even though it maybe averted a worse trade war, it's clearly not popular everywhere in Europe, especially France, it seems.
Definitely facing headwinds, particularly from French leaders wanting renegotiation, worried about inflation.
And amidst these economic tensions, the human security situation, Russia strikes kill 25 in Ukraine.
Yes, Russian missile and drone attacks kill at least 25 people. The report mentioned 16 prison inmates and, tragically, a pregnant woman in Zaporizhia and other cities.
And the reliability.
That's A2. Completely reliable, probably true, substantial threat level military focus. It's a grim reminder of the ongoing human cost.
Absolutely. President Zelensky accusing Russia of war crimes, vowing retaliation. The situation remains incredibly volatile.
Sadly, yes.
All right, let's shift to Asia. The picture there seems to be a mix of severe climate events and some interesting cooperation. Threat level, moderate risk.
A major event was the flooding that killed 30 in Beijing, with tens of thousands evacuated. Record rainfall hit Beijing and northern China.
30 dead, including emergency responders. 80,000 evacuated. Roads destroyed, power cut.
Devastating impact. That information is rated A2. Completely reliable, probably true. Moderate threat level, environmental focus.
But on a different note, there's some positive collaboration.
Yes, the U.S. and India are launching the NISAR Earth monitoring satellite. NASA and ISRO, India's space agency. It launched, or was set to launch, today, July 30th.
What does NISAR do?
It's designed to monitor changes in Earth's land and ice surfaces. It uses low-frequency radar. It'll track things like crop yields, forest biomass, sea level rise. Really valuable climate data.
And the cost and reliability.
A big project.
Right.
$1.2 billion from NASA, $90 million from ISRO. And the intelligence on this is A1. That's top tier. Completely reliable, confirmed by independent sources. Low threat level. It's scientific cooperation.
Good to see that kind of collaboration happening.
It is. A positive note reinforcing U.S.-India ties in a critical area like climate monitoring.
Okay, let's turn to the Middle East. Still very volatile, with the Gaza humanitarian crisis deepening. Threat level, substantial, high risk.
Yeah, the numbers are just staggering. The report highlights Gaza death tolls surpassing 60,000. That's according to Gaza's health ministry.
60,000 killed since October 2023, and over 145,000 injured, thousands still missing.
And the International Crisis Group is quoted, labeling it a genocide risk. The information is rated A2. Completely reliable, probably true. The threat level is severe, focusing on the humanitarian catastrophe.
Just horrific. And in the diplomatic sphere,
A potentially significant move. The UK warned Israel about recognizing a Palestinian state. Basically, Britain said it could recognize Palestine by September unless Israel takes steps to alleviate the suffering in Gaza and agrees to a ceasefire.
using state recognition as leverage. That's interesting. Rating.
Also A2. Completely reliable, probably true. Substantial threat level, political and humanitarian.
What's the significance of that?
Well, it reflects the immense international pressure building on Israel. It's a notable shift in diplomatic tactics, showing growing impatience for real action on the ground. Using recognition as a tool like this is quite a statement.
Definitely one to watch. Okay, Africa. Facing a combination of crises, political, socioeconomic, violence, threat level, substantial, high risk.
A major concern highlighted is the UN warning of rising hunger across Africa. A UN report projects Africa will account for nearly 60% of the world's hungry by 2030.
60%? That's shocking.
It is. 307 million Africans chronically undernourished this year, 2024, driven by conflict, climate change, economic shocks, debt. A perfect storm, really.
And the reliability of that UN report?
That's A1. Completely reliable, confirmed by independent sources. Dire findings. The threat level is high humanitarian focus.
And we also see domestic instability, like in Angola.
Yes, fuel hike protests in Angola turned deadly. Protests against a 1/3 increase in diesel prices. At least 4 people killed, over 500 arrested. Government buildings vandalized.
What's the rating there?
That's B2. Usually reliable source,
Right.
probably true. Moderate plus threat level for social unrest.
It shows that underlying socioeconomic stress boiling over, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Deep dissatisfaction with the status quo, the impact of economic hardship. People demanding change.
Moving to Latin America, dealing with economic headwinds from U.S. tariffs, plus some interesting legal and demographic shifts. Threat level, moderate risk.
A major legal development. Former Colombian President Uribe convicted of witness tampering. Alvaro Uribe found guilty of abuse of process and bribery, trying to coerce witnesses.
First conviction of a former Colombian president? That's significant.
Huge. He plans to appeal, but it's the landmark case. The intelligence is A2. Completely reliable, probably true, moderate threat level, political legal.
What does this signal for the region, potentially?
Well, it raises important questions about the rule of law, accountability, especially for powerful figures. Could it set a precedent against impunity in a region often grappling with corruption? Maybe. It's definitely being watched closely.
And on a different track, Mexico is expanding its public health system.
Yes. The government announced plans to open 18 new hospitals and 3 clinics by the end of the year. That's on top of others already open since last October.
Reliability.
That's B2. Usually reliable, probably true. Low threat level, social focus. Part of President Sheinbaum's healthcare reforms addressing social welfare needs.
Okay, finally. Oceania Pacific. Australia and New Zealand focusing on energy transition and some governance reforms. Threat level. Moderate, low risk.
A key governance item is New Zealand. Introducing that law restricting voter registration and prisoner voting, prevents same-day enrollment, bars prisoners from voting.
We mentioned the criticism earlier.
Right. Critics warning about reduced voter participation, potential conflict with their Bill of Rights. That info is A2. Completely reliable, probably true, moderate threat level, political legal. It shows deep public engagement with democratic rights there.
And also the tsunami risk from that quake off Russia.
Yes. Tsunami activity expected in New Zealand. NEMA, their emergency agency, warned of strong currents and surges after that 8.8 quake near Kamchatka. Safety advice issued for coasts in NZ and other Pacific islands.
And that's A2 as well.
Correct. A2.
Wow.
Completely reliable, probably true. Moderate threat level, natural hazard.
Okay, that covers the regional updates. Now let's get into something interesting. The people's hearsay. What are folks actually saying online about all this?
Yeah, this gives us that ground level sentiment, the raw reactions.
So in North America, strong feelings about the economy. Consumer forums are apparently buzzing about P&G's price hikes. People saying things like, we can't keep up with these price hikes, and vowing to switch to generics.
Directly reflects that economic pain we discussed.
And after the Manhattan shooting, lots of calls on X, formerly Twitter, for stricter gun control. This Manhattan shooting shows we need stricter gun laws now, trending posts apparently said.
So public safety and economic pressures are really resonating, translating into calls for policy changes and shifts in consumer habits.
In Europe, that trade deal is causing real anger online. A French MP, Manon Aubry, tweeted something like, "A dark day for Europe, we've surrendered to U.S. extortion."
Wow, strong language.
Yeah, and German farmers groups on Facebook asking, why are we paying more for U.S. energy while our farmers suffer?
That shows significant public pushback. Even if the deal is done on paper, leaders are going to face political heat over its ratification and impact.
Moving to the Middle East, the dominant theme online is humanitarian appeals for Gaza.
Understandably.
Graphic posts on Instagram and X showing emaciated children, criticizing international inaction, users asking, Gaza is starving, where is humanity? And activists echoing the UK's move, urging others, recognize Palestine now.
Yeah, it really highlights that sense of moral urgency, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And growing impatience. The public is demanding concrete diplomatic action, like recognition, not just words. It's a global call for intervention.
Okay, let's pull it all together now with the correlational analysis from Nextsite. This is where they really connect the dots across everything we've discussed.
Yeah, this is super insightful because it shows these aren't just separate events happening randomly. They're interwoven. They influence each other.
So what are some key correlations the report highlights?
Okay, first, tariffs versus inflation. It's clear. Widespread tariff hikes are feeding consumer price inflation globally. This is pushing central banks, like the Fed in the U.S., to keep rates high, maybe even raise them. Bond yields are climbing in Europe and Asia, too. Trade protectionism directly gets the cost of living everywhere.
Makes sense. What else?
Second, climate disasters versus supply chains. The floods in China, droughts in Africa, they're not just local tragedies. They directly disrupt food production, logistics, driving commodity prices up, straining insurance markets, even hitting government budgets. Global economic ripples from local climate events.
That link is becoming undeniable.
Increasingly so. Third, demographics versus economic growth. That rapid aging in Latin America, the voting restrictions in New Zealand, these aren't just footnotes. They signal fundamental strains that could slow future growth, increase dependency ratios, fewer workers supporting more retirees, and really challenge social welfare systems long term.
Deeper, slower moving forces at play.
Exactly. And fourth, conflict versus commodity prices. The wars and unrest in the Middle East, in Africa, they keep adding a risk premium to oil and metals. Even with high U.S. production helping moderate prices somewhat, that underlying instability creates persistent volatility in energy and resource markets. Geopolitics directly impacting economics.
It really paints a picture of deeply interconnected global challenges. Economic stability, social well-being, climate conflict. You can't really separate them.
Not anymore. And the report actually suggests some responses based on this, right? Like strategic dialogue to de-escalate tariffs, better humanitarian response frameworks for places like Gaza and Ukraine, investing in climate resilience.
And monitoring those demographic shifts, managing risks in emerging markets, it shows the need for holistic thinking.
Precisely. Interconnected problems need interconnected solutions.
So after all that, what does this all mean for you, our listener?
Well, I think this intelligence brief for July 29th makes it pretty clear we're in a period of really complex, interconnected global instability. From the economic squeeze of tariffs to the terrible human cost of conflicts and climate change, the world's juggling multiple serious challenges right now, substantial and severe ones.
And the report underscores that having reliable information, knowing the source, the confidence level, the potential threat, is basically your shortcut to navigating this complexity. It helps you look past the single headline and see those bigger currents shaping everything, connect the dots.
Absolutely. And maybe this raises a question for you to think about. Given all these overlapping challenges, trade friction, humanitarian crises, climate disruption, how can individuals, how can communities best prepare? How do we adapt? What actions, even small ones, might this intelligence brief make you consider in your own life, your work, your community?
Something to definitely ponder. That's it for today's deep dive. We really hope this exploration of the Next Sight Intelligence Report has given you a clearer, more insightful view of the world around us.
Hope it was useful.
And please don't forget to follow us on YouTube, Next Sight Intelligence, and on Spotify, search for Deep Dive Intelligence Podcast. Also, like, share, and comment. We do look forward to hearing your opinion. This is it for today. Enjoy the rest of your day.